Betrayal doesn't arrive with a warning. It comes quietly, with a smile you once trusted, with hands you thought were safe, with words that once felt like shelter. And then, in a single moment, the ground beneath you fractures. What was whole feels shattered. What was certain feels erased. Betrayal is not a wound that bleeds outside. It is a wound that bleeds inward, invisible to the world, yet heavy in your chest. It does not end when they walk away. It does not end when you cry yourself empty. Betrayal echoes in the memory of every promise they broke. It repeats in the silence after every word you wish you could unhear. That is its cruelty. It lingers, not as a single event, but as an echo, a shadow, a storm that returns every time you remember what you gave away in trust. But here is the paradox. Betrayal feels like destruction, yet within destruction lies revelation. It reveals who they truly are and who you are becoming. It shows you the fault lines you ignored, the boundaries you never drew, the hope you gave too freely. And while that revelation stings, it is also a beginning. For the breaking of trust is not the end of your story. It is the moment your story begins to change. You may feel foolish for believing. You may punish yourself for missing the signs. You may call yourself naive for holding on too tightly. But pause, breathe, recognize this truth. Your willingness to trust was never a weakness, it was your strength. To trust is to be brave. To give your heart openly is to show courage in a world full of masks. Betrayal belongs to them. Courage belongs to you. Still, the nights feel long. The mind replays every detail, the smile that was false, the touch that was hollow, the words that were poisoned sugar. Betrayal teaches you the cruel game of questioning your memory. Was it all a lie? Was any of it real? Was I blind? And those questions cut deeper than the betrayal itself. They make you doubt not only them, but yourself. But betrayal cannot define your worth. What someone chose to do is a mirror of their emptiness, not your value. A broken promise does not mean you were unworthy of truth. A shattered bond does not mean you were undeserving of love. Their betrayal is their reflection. Your trust was your gift, and that gift, though rejected, remains proof of your humanity. Think of glass. When it breaks, the sound is violent, the pieces scatter, and the floor is dangerous to walk upon. But broken glass also reflects more light than it ever did when whole. In betrayal, the same truth exists. The breaking is painful, but the reflection that follows shows your strength in sharper clarity. This is the beginning of your rise. The rise does not start when the pain vanishes. It starts while the pain is still present. It begins when you realize you are more than the wound. It begins when you whisper to yourself, I will not stay broken. I will not stay silent. I will not let this betrayal write the final page of my story. So let this introduction not be about despair, but about awakening. Let this first step remind you that you are not defined by the moment someone chose to wound you. You are defined by the moment you choose to rise. They may have written betrayal into your past, but you will write resilience into your future. This is not the end. This is the first breath after the fire, the first light after the storm, the first step after the fall. Betrayal may have broken the trust you gave, but it cannot break the strength you are becoming. This is where your rising begins. We often stay in places long after the betrayal has happened, not because we don't see the wound, but because we are afraid to leave it behind. The illusion is powerful. It whispers, if I stay, maybe they will change. If I forgive, maybe the story will heal itself. If I endure the pain, maybe it will mean I am loyal. But loyalty without respect is not love. It is a chain disguised as commitment. The truth is harsh, yet liberating. Staying where betrayal was born is not healing. It is self-abandonment. Healing begins not in denial, but in distance. Betrayal demands a choice: cling to the illusion that poisoned you, or walk into the unknown where freedom waits. Illusion tells you to cling tighter. It says that the comfort of the familiar is safer than the risk of leaving. It convinces you that suffering in silence is nobler than speaking your pain. But truth speaks differently. Truth whispers that no loyalty should cost your soul. Truth declares that real love does not ask you to break yourself in order to prove it exists. Think of a cage. The illusion paints the bars with gold, telling you that beauty means safety. You run your hands over the shine, believing the cage is home. But no matter how bright the bars, a cage is still a cage. And freedom will always feel terrifying when you've grown used to confinement. Yet the truth is that the door is not locked. It never was. You can walk out, even if your legs tremble. Denial is heavy. It tells you to pretend the wound isn't there. But distance is medicine. It creates space for the wound to breathe, to close, to become a scar instead of a bleeding memory. The illusion will tempt you to stay because leaving feels like betrayal of your own loyalty. But the real betrayal is choosing to remain where respect has already died. Consider a seed planted in poisoned soil. No matter how much water you pour, no matter how much sunlight you offer, it will not bloom. To grow, you must move it, replant it, give it a chance in soil that can nourish it. That is what betrayal teaches. Not all ground is meant to carry your roots. The truth is not cruel. It is simply clear. It shows you who values your presence and who abuses your trust. It shows you that silence in the face of betrayal is not strength, it is surrender. And you were not born to surrender. You were born to rise. The hardest part of betrayal is not the act itself, but the letting go of the illusion that things will return to the way they were. That illusion is seductive. It ties you to the past with threads of false hope, but truth cuts those threads, even if the cut stings, because truth is the only ground strong enough to build on. Ask yourself, what is more painful? Staying in a place where your trust is constantly broken, or stepping into a future where respect has a chance to exist? The first feels familiar, but it is a slow death. The second feels uncertain, but it is life reborn. Illusion says loyalty means staying no matter the cost. Truth says loyalty must begin with yourself. Illusion binds you to the one who betrayed you. Truth frees you to honor your own worth. So here, in the echo of betrayal, you face the choice that defines your rise. Will you keep decorating your prison with excuses, or will you walk into the truth, trembling yet unchained? The illusion is heavy, but the truth is light, and it is the light that will carry you forward. Betrayal is not only an event, it is weather that moves into your soul. It arrives like a storm, sudden and violent, tearing apart the calm sky of your life. One moment you are standing in sunlight, certain of the ground beneath you. The next, clouds gather without warning, and the world you knew is drowned in thunder. The lightning is their action, the sharp strike that splits your heart open. But the rain is memory. It doesn't stop when the moment ends. It falls again and again, drenching every thought, seeping into every silence. Inside, the storm rages longer than it does outside. The world looks unchanged, but you are soaked. You walk into rooms carrying puddles in your chest. You try to laugh, but thunder answers back. The betrayal becomes a climate, and you live inside its weather. But storms, even the fiercest ones, are not endless. They exhaust themselves, they break branches, flood valleys, shake houses, but they also clear the air. After the destruction, the sky reveals a clarity you didn't know was possible. In betrayal, that same truth lives. The pain floods through you, but when it drains, it leaves behind something sharp, awareness. Think of cracked soil after heavy rain. At first glance, it looks ruined, split open, hopeless. But those cracks become the very lines where seeds can enter, where water can seep deeper, where growth can take root. Betrayal feels like cracked soil, an ending, but hidden in those fissures is the beginning of transformation. Or think of glass shattered on the floor. When it breaks, it is dangerous, sharp, painful to touch. You bleed if you hold it carelessly. But step back and watch. Those same broken pieces catch the light in ways the whole mirror never could. The fragments reflect more angles, more brightness, more truth. In betrayal, you are forced to look at yourself in shards, but those shards show you parts of your strength you never saw when life felt unbroken. The silence after betrayal is another kind of storm. It is heavier than thunder, You replay conversations, gestures, promises, and the silence becomes deafening. But silence is also a teacher. In silence, you hear your own voice again. You begin to notice where your trust was misplaced and where your boundaries must now stand. Yes, betrayal destroys. It floods your certainty, burns your innocence, scatters your hope. But even fire leaves ashes that enrich the soil. Even floods carve new rivers. Even storms carve paths through mountains. Destruction is real, but so is creation that follows it. Betrayal is the storm, but you are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. You are wider, stronger, older than the violence that passes through you. The storm feels endless while it rages, but the sky always outlasts it. And you, no matter how fierce the betrayal, are the sky. When you begin to see yourself this way, something shifts. You stop asking, why did they bring this storm to me? And you start saying, I will learn how to grow after the rain. That is the secret resilience betrayal hides. Storms do not only break, they also cleanse, also transform. So, if you feel the rain still falling inside you, if you feel the thunder echoing in your chest, remember, storms are not meant to last forever. They pass. They leave behind cracked soil, broken mirrors, scorched earth, but also the promise of new growth. And though you cannot stop the storm, you can rise after it, clearer, sharper, stronger. We rarely admit it, but the hardest part of betrayal is not always the breaking. It is the clinging. The moment of betrayal slices us open, yes, but what keeps the wound bleeding is our grip on the memory of the person who caused it. We hold on, not because it heals us, but because letting go feels like losing the life we once imagined. Familiarity becomes a cage we convince ourselves is comfort. We tell ourselves, at least I know this pain, at least I know this story, at least I am not alone. But comfort born from betrayal is no comfort at all. It is poison disguised as water. You drink it hoping it will quench your thirst, but it only dries you further inside. Why do we hold on? Because leaving feels like stepping into emptiness, because separation feels like another kind of death, because the unknown feels colder than the hurt we already know. We confuse loyalty with self-sacrifice, as if remaining faithful to betrayal proves the depth of our love. But betrayal is not proof of your weakness, and leaving is not proof of your cruelty. Walking away is proof of your survival. Picture this: a rope tied to your wrist, cutting into your skin. The more you resist, the deeper it cuts. Yet still, you grip the rope tighter because you are afraid of what happens if you let go. You think the rope is keeping you safe, but in truth, it is the very thing causing your pain. Letting go does not mean falling, it means freeing your hand from the cut. Memory is another chain. We replay the laughter, the promises, the sweet words. We remember the moments when we felt loved, and those memories battle against the reality of betrayal. We tell ourselves, maybe the good outweighs the bad. Maybe if I wait, it will return. But the truth is simple. What you lost was already gone the moment respect was broken. What you are clinging to is a shadow, not the person you thought you knew. There is a reason we cling to shadows. They remind us of the light we once had. But shadows are not the light itself. They are only its outline, and you cannot live on outlines. You deserve the light again. Resistance also hides behind guilt. We tell ourselves we failed, that maybe betrayal was punishment for our flaws. We carry responsibility for choices that were never ours. But betrayal is not your shame to carry. It is not your punishment. It is their action, their fracture, their choice. Your only responsibility now is to choose yourself. Think of a bird born in a cage. If the door is opened, it hesitates. It clings to the bars because the open air feels terrifying. The sky looks endless, dangerous. But the truth is, the cage was always the danger. The cage was always the place where wings forgot their power. And so it is with betrayal. You are not meant to stay where you were broken. You are meant to fly where freedom lives. The resistance is real. It is powerful. It will whisper that leaving means losing. But in reality, leaving means choosing. Choosing freedom over chains. choosing self-worth over empty loyalty, choosing healing over pain. Yes, the hand you let go of may once have held you with love, but now it cuts you, and holding on to it only deepens the wound. Your rise begins when you loosen your grip, when you unclench the fist around the pain, when you dare to believe that your future is not bound to the betrayal of your past. Letting go is not betrayal of them, it is loyalty to yourself. And loyalty to yourself is the truest loyalty there is. There comes a moment after betrayal when the storm quiets, the silence grows heavy, and the question rises inside you, what now? For some, the first instinct is revenge, to make the betrayer feel the same fire they lit within you. But revenge is not healing. Revenge is still a chain. It keeps you tied to the very wound you long to escape. The true shift begins when you realize healing is not about them at all. It is about you, about reclaiming the power you gave away, about walking away, not with bitterness, but with clarity. To turn pain into power is not to mirror their cruelty, it is to rise above it, carrying lessons they cannot steal. Think of fire. Betrayal sets you ablaze, but you have a choice. Will you let it consume everything you are, or will you use it as a forge? Fire destroys, yes, but fire also shapes iron into steel. It burns away weakness, leaving strength behind. This is the moment of transformation, when the flame no longer devours you, but refines you. Separation is not abandonment, it is protection. Choosing distance is not weakness, it is wisdom. You learn that your silence is not surrender, but strength, that your boundaries are not walls, but shields. Healing is the art of recognizing what no longer deserves your energy. The shift is not dramatic, it is quiet, steady, and deeply personal. There is power in solitude. At first, being alone feels like punishment. You feel the absence, the echo, the gap where trust once lived. But slowly, solitude becomes a sanctuary. It is the place where your voice grows louder, where your thoughts begin to clear, where your soul starts to breathe again. In solitude, you rediscover yourself not as someone betrayed, but as someone awakening. Betrayal forces you to choose what kind of strength you will carry. Some carry bitterness, letting it harden into armor. But true strength is not hardness. It is resilience. It is the ability to bend, to hurt, to fall, and still rise without losing your tenderness. It is the choice to remain open, even after being broken. Picture a tree struck by lightning. The scar remains on its bark, a reminder of fire and fury. But the tree does not stop growing. It sends roots deeper, branches higher. The scar is not the end of its life. It is proof that it survived what could have killed it. You, too, can be like that tree. Your scar is not your shame, it is your survival. The shift is also honesty. Honesty with yourself about what happened, about what you ignored, about what you allowed. This honesty is not cruelty, it is liberation. For when you stop denying the wound, you stop feeding it. And when you stop feeding it, you begin to heal. This is the turning point. The moment you see betrayal not as the end of your worth, but as the beginning of your wisdom. You no longer beg for closure from the one who hurt you. You give closure to yourself. You no longer wait for apologies that may never come. You write forgiveness in your own language, not for them, but for your peace. And so the power grows, quietly, steadily, like dawn spreading after the darkest night. Your pain becomes a teacher. Your scars become maps. Your solitude becomes strength. The betrayal that once broke you becomes the very ground on which you rise taller. Because betrayal is not the final word. Rising is. And the moment you choose release over revenge, healing over hatred, clarity over chaos, you have shifted. You are no longer the wound, you are the warrior forged from it. Betrayal has a way of isolating us. It convinces us that no one could possibly understand the weight we carry, that no one else has walked through the same storm. But the truth is this: betrayal is not a wound reserved for a few, it is a scar written across humanity. Every culture, every time, every heart has known the breaking of trust. You are not alone in your pain. You are part of a larger story. Think of history itself. Empires have fallen because of betrayal. Friendships that shape nations have been torn apart by it. Lovers in every century have whispered promises that ended in silence. From the pages of old scriptures to the voices of modern songs, betrayal has been sung, written, cried, and carried. Your story is deeply personal, yet it is also profoundly universal. When you feel the sting of betrayal, you are touching a thread that connects you to countless others. Somewhere, someone else is replaying the same questions. Why me? How could they? What do I do now? And in their eyes, in their silence, in their tears, your reflection lives. You are not walking alone in the dark. You are walking in the company of millions who carry lanterns of survival. Scars, when seen alone, feel like shame, but when seen together, they become a map of resilience. Picture a tapestry. From up close, you see only broken threads, jagged lines, loose ends. But step back, and the pattern reveals itself. Every broken thread is part of a greater design. Every scar contributes to the story of endurance. Your betrayal is one thread among many, and together they create a picture of survival. There is also power in knowing that others have risen before you. Their stories become evidence that healing is not a dream but a reality. The single mother who rebuilt her life after being left behind, the friend who found trust again after deception, the leader who transformed betrayal into vision. Each of these stories whispers to you, if they could rise, so can you. And the same way you draw strength from others, your rise will one day become someone else's hope. When you heal, your scars will speak silently to another broken soul. You are not finished. You can rise too. This is the unspoken chain of survival. Each life that rises becomes a lantern for another. Consider the ocean. A single drop feels small, lost, invisible, but millions of drops together create waves that can move mountains of stone. Betrayal wants you to believe you are just a drop, isolated, powerless. But when you recognize that others carry the same pain, you realize you are part of an ocean, and oceans do not break. They reshape the shore. Even in your solitude, you are connected. Somewhere tonight, a stranger is staring at the ceiling, replaying the same kind of wound. Somewhere tomorrow, another heart will crack open under the weight of broken trust. The connection is invisible, but it is real. And if you close your eyes and listen, you can almost hear it, the collective heartbeat of those who survived betrayal and chose to rise. You are not weak for carrying scars. You are human, and humanity itself is stitched together by scars that never stopped growth. Your betrayal does not separate you from others, it unites you with them. For we all carry stories of broken trust, and we all carry the chance to rise from them. So when you feel alone, remember this truth. You are part of a lineage of survivors. Their scars echo in yours, and your scars will echo in others. Betrayal is a wound, but rising is a legacy, and you too are now part of that legacy. There comes a moment in every story where the pain has spoken enough, where the storm has raged, the silence has pressed heavy, the resistance has worn you thin. That moment is now. You have looked betrayal in the eye, you have felt its fire, you have carried its echo, but hear this clearly. Betrayal is not who you are. Betrayal is what happened to you, and what happened to you cannot define the infinite possibility of what you can become. The wound is real, yes. The scar is real, yes. But scars are not chains. Scars are reminders that you walked through fire and lived. They are not marks of weakness, they are signatures of strength. When you trace them with your fingers, do not see shame. See survival. See proof. Proof that you did not stay broken. Proof that you endured. Proof that you are still here, breathing, rising. Liberation comes when you stop trying to rewrite the past and begin to write the future. You cannot control what was done to you, but you can control what you choose to do now. You can carry bitterness, or you can carry wisdom. You can live in the shadow of betrayal, or you can step into the light of resilience. The choice, though hard, is yours, and that choice is the beginning of freedom. Think of ashes after a fire. At first, they look like ruin, lifeless, gray. But within those ashes lies the foundation for new life. Soil enriched by fire grows stronger roots. In the same way, your betrayal has left ashes. But those ashes can become the ground for your next chapter. You are not left empty, you are left fertile with lessons, clarity, and strength. Remember the bird we spoke of, the one born in a cage. The day it dares to step out, wings trembling, the sky feels terrifying. But the moment it takes flight, the cage becomes irrelevant. It no longer matters who locked the door or how long it stayed inside. What matters is that the bird now knows it was always meant for the sky. You, too, are meant for the sky. You are meant for freedom, meant for peace, meant for love that does not betray. Liberation is not loud. It does not always come with fireworks or applause. Sometimes liberation is a quiet whisper inside you that says, I am done carrying what is not mine. I am ready to live again. That whisper is enough. That whisper is powerful. For from that whisper comes courage, and from courage comes action, and from action comes the life that betrayal tried to steal. You are not alone in this rise. Every survivor of betrayal has walked this path of fire to freedom. They have left footprints in the ashes so you could see the way forward. And now, as you rise, you leave your own. Someone else, years from now, will follow your steps. They will look at your scars and see hope. They will hear your story and feel less alone. And that is the final gift betrayal gives, the power to transform your pain into light for someone else's path. So stand tall, lift your head. Let the world see not the wound, but the warrior. Let the world see not the betrayal, but the becoming. Your story is not about how you were broken, it is about how you rose, again and again, refusing to stay fallen. Because betrayal is not your identity, rising is. And every step you take away from the wound is proof that your future is stronger than your past. This is your liberation. This is your climax. This is your rise.